Today we're going to be talking about the number e. So just like pi is an irrational number, e is also an irrational number. It's about 2.71, 2.72, as you can see right here. We're going to treat e just like we would a variable. And so we're first going to practice simplifying. So remember, like number one, when we're multiplying and we have the same base, you just add your exponents. So this should be e to the 7th. Number two, you would divide your numbers. And then remember, when you have the same base, you subtract your exponents here. It just becomes e to the first, which you can just write that as e. And number three, you actually make sure that the 2 goes to both of those. So you're going to have a 3 squared e to a negative 8x. You could also write that as 9e to a negative 8x. Or if you wanted to, you could also put the e on bottom. Usually a negative means something with e, so we don't have to put it on bottom like we do when it says like x to a negative 2. Because e to a negative is an actual mathematical meaning, as you'll see down here. It has a meaning. So go ahead and try number 4. Right, so we get e to the 3rd. And try number 5. So we get 3e to 4 on this one. Number 6 seems a little tricky, but we're really just still adding. So it's an x and a negative 3x, so I have e to negative 2x. We're still adding the 5 also here. So you have, even though it's x's, they're all still up in the exponent. So once you try 7, we get 5e to a negative 4x. You could put that on bottom, and it would be 5 over e to a 4x if you wanted. And then number 8, remember, square root is a 1/2 power. This is really e to an x, because a power to a power, we multiply them. Down here, I just want you to practice trying to type this into your calculator. So get a calculator out, find your e button. It's usually right next to the button that says ln, or the button that says log. So identify those in your calculator and do e squared and round to 3 decimals. So I got e squared is 7.389. And then type in e to a negative 3. I get 0.0. That's too many, so 0.50. When we're graphing here, e is 2.7, so that would make it a growth. So it's just like what we did in the previous lessons, where e to the x would be a growth. And this would be 1 over 2.7 the x, which is a decay picture. If it's ever a negative, it's a decay. So first, I want you to tell me if number 1 is a growth or decay. All right, correct. It is a growth. The 0.75 only would make e to a 0.75, which is still bigger than 1. So my y-intercept is still the 2, like we did before, and we're going to make it a growth. All right, number 4, your y-intercept is still 4. This is a growth, and the 3 moves it down 3. With no movement, remember my black is no movement, it would go like this. And now I'm going to move it all down 3. So 1, 2, 3. All right, so go ahead and try number 3. So number 3, it was a decay because it's a negative exponent right here, and then I moved my whole graph up 1. Number 4, my y-intercept is a 1, just like it was over there. And then I moved it left 3, because remember up is opposite, left and right. So most of the time when we're compounding things, we compound it continuously now. And so I made this PERT, so you'd remember PE to the RT. So P is your initial amount, R is your rate, and T is your time. And the hard part usually is plugging this in the calculator. So if we deposit $1,000 and the rate is 8, so we'd be at 0.08 in 5 years. You just type that into your calculator and we'll see what we get. I type this in and I get 1,491.82. So go ahead and try to type in do number 5 and then type in your calculator. We get 500.03 times 5. And you should have correctly identified this as 580.92. And these are dollar signs.